like to give a big burly thank you to David Blackburn, Vrill, Watt, Doyman, Caitlin Miller, James Edward Edicott, Dennis Rodolfi Jr., Ballistic Blue, Vincente Vitendi, Nick the Undead, Tarrant, and Degenerate Weeb Garbage. Thanks, guys. My job requires that I'm in domestic violence court on a weekly basis. Because of this, I have an unlimited supply of party stories. Woman requesting restraining order from her husband. Says her husband is obsessively controlling. When asked for details, she gave 2 examples. First, every time she sees him after a period of time apart, he demands to smell her breath to see if it smells, quote, like dick. Secondly, he requires her to log and count her tampons because he's suspicious that she's using them to soak up other men's semen. Her husband is sitting on the other side of the courtroom. His face wen. Guy has limited interactions with his adult daughter despite still living with her. She sends him almost a dozen original emails a day, claiming to be a prophet of the new Lord. Pages and pages of evidence with some hardcore text. When it comes time, we will wear your skin kind of shit. Dad begins to get freaked out. Shows up to court with, and this is not an exaggeration, 12,000 of these emails. All original and at least 1,000 words. She doesn't show. He hasn't served her. He somehow hasn't seen her in a week or so. He goes home that same day. Goes to sleep. Wakes up. His daughter is naked, covered in her own blood, cuts all over. The house reeks of gasoline. She's laughing, holding a lighter, begins shouting shit. Dad tackles her. She's writhing and screaming. He gets control over her and commits her the next day. Showed up in court with the story anyway and got a year restraining order, just in case. Overweight, thick-rimmed grease face shows up. 6 out of 10 feeble-looking woman requesting a restraining order. She and the guy had originally been dating. They broke up. Turns out he took naked pictures of her while she was sleeping during the relationship. She doesn't know this. 6 months later, she gets a new boyfriend. Wakes up in the morning, goes to her car to go to work. Her car has every inch of it covered with naked photos of her. All angles, everything showing. Fucking superglued and thick paper so she can't really do shit about it. Sitting in the middle of her suburban neighborhood. She tries pouring water on it, doesn't help. Manages to scrape enough off the windshield so she can see. Drives the Coochmobile to the nearest mechanic. Stares from everyone, recognizing the driver from her spread legs and tits plastered to the side windows. Has to get it power washed or some shit. The dude is laughing in court as she recants this. Admits to it completely. The judge approves the restraining order. The guy freaks out. Your Honor, you don't understand. I wasn't doing it to harass her, but to tease her new boyfriend. Sits back in his chair as though that changes a lot. The judge, of course, doesn't give a shit. The guy's face when he gets a 5-year restraining order. Middle Eastern woman comes into court, trying to get a restraining order against her ex-husband. Hasn't served her ex-husband yet, so he's not there. Goes over her statements to the court. Here's her situation. 6 months before she filed, she got divorced, and her husband moved back to Sandland. A few weeks before she fled after not seeing him for almost half a year, she has an alleged incident. She's sitting at home in front of her closed front window reading a magazine, drinking tea or some shit. She glances at the road, sees a car begin to come down her street. The windows are dark and she can't see into it. It looks vaguely like her ex-husband's car. As it passes, she suddenly goes into electric shock. Immediately realized that she had been drive-by tased. Calls the police and files a report. The judge says to the woman, "Your windows were closed, and the car driving by had its windows up as well."
"Yes, it was a very strong taser. I still feel the effect."
"Ma'am, I'm afraid that's not how tasers work."
"He tased me!"
"Even if it was a stun gun, that couldn't have happened through 2 sheets of glass as he was driving across the street." The lady goes batshit, claims that the judge has no idea what her ex is capable of, claims he must have invented new weapons technology to produce such a taser. The lady also later claimed that he's been trying to kill her, as evidenced by her seeing a loose wire hanging from a telephone pole on her drive home from work. Apparently that was him trying to electrocute her again. My favorite part of this one was just thinking about what if she had been right. What if her husband really was a fucking military genius and was electrocuting people at his whims? The lady was eventually forced to leave the courtroom and was denied the protective order that she requested. I wonder if she died. Here's a really fucking weird one. Woman requesting an order against her ex-boyfriend. The boyfriend moved out 3 months prior. They've had minimal contact since. She declares that she needs protection because he has been ejaculating on everything that I own. According to her, this motherfucker had been sneaking into her home on the daily and spraying jizz on her household items. Sticky phone, sticky purse, sticky pots, sticky pans, sticky dog, sticky chairs, you name it. She said this had been happening for close to a month. She immediately knew what it was and who was doing it. The guy is looking, making the biggest what the fuck face in court. Responds with the basic, why would I even do that? Who would do that? I've moved on, blah blah blah. The woman interrupts and produces evidence for the court. The judge looks at it. Private testing she had done. Confirmed for semen. Confirmed for his semen. All of it was his semen. The judge asks the guy if he has anything to say for the record. I've never seen much use for this gif, but the change in his fucking face when. Another time, there was a Mexican dude in court. Claims that his wife's 2 brothers are harassing him and physically intimidating him. The wife complains to her brothers whenever her and her husband have a problem, and the brothers retaliate on her behalf. They follow the husband in their car wherever he goes, not saying anything, just slowly rolling behind him. On the few occasions that he's confronted by them, they've tried to physically subdue him and take him in, but he's escaped, even once through a fire exit. Never a police report filed because they flee when they hear La Policia. Both brothers are from Mexico. The third brother from Mexico as well is in jail for murder. Both are huge, imposing, tatted guys. The husband is tiny and looks comically like a 20th century Mexican rancher. The restraining order request is denied because no police request. The husband looks terrified. The brothers are smirking in their denim and flannel. It's less than a month before the husband goes missing. Still technically a missing person. Come on. A husband and wife are separated but have no restraining order, have custody order that is constantly a subject of debate for them. They have 2 kids, a boy who's 10 and a girl who's 8. One day, the dad shows up from school to pick his kids up like he's supposed to. The mom shows up too. The dad gets the daughter, but the mom grabs her son and takes him, saying it's her time. The school does nothing. Both parents drive away. The boy in mom's car begins to yell that he wants to talk to dad. The mom calls dad to get him to shut up. Gives the kid the phone. Dad, I want to see you. Don't worry, I have an idea. The fucking 10-year-old boy proceeds to, in the seat next to his mom, drop his pants and start shitting. Takes the fattest shit of his life all over the front seat. Apparently it was oozing all over his pants and legs. The smell was unbearable. The mom freaks out. God damn it! Immediately drives him to the dad and gives the dad the son because she can't deal with it. The mom and dad proceed to spend at least an hour of the court's time arguing over if the dad instructed the kid to shit his way out of his situation. The judge's face during all of this. A guy is trying to get a restraining order against a lady for obsessive behavior. For the year after their relationship ended, she texted him every single day. Stuff like, "Good morning, sexy," or "Hope your day is going well, stud." But also stuff like, "I hope that bitch you're fucking now knows what we did in bed." Declarations even get graphic. Shit like, "I was having a bad day until I started thinking of you and found an old bottle of Astroglide. Thanks for the 2 orgasms." These go on and on, multiple per day, for a year. The guy doesn't respond to a single fucking text. Not one response. Literally over 1,000 text messages of her talking to herself. The guy shows up to court. He's like 55, 5'4", broad, skin destroyed by too much sun, wearing cowboy boots and sporting a sick white mullet/goatee combo. He looks like a joke. The woman shows up. Legit 9 out of 10. Feet are stirring. Here comes the crazy shit. She denies none of it, but isn't really paying attention to the hearing, just staring at the dude, wearing a rather short skirt. Her legs originally under the table, both the respondent and the defendant facing the judge. As the case goes on, her legs swivel around slowly to face him. The judge is lost in reading out loud some litigation shit. She's not wearing any underwear. Half the courtroom is now staring at her vagina. She tries to do the Sharon Stone vagina flash leg uncross, but her legs were never really crossed, so really she just spreads her vagina further. What the fuck? The guy that's getting the restraining order is just trying to ignore it. He wants so badly to look, I can tell. She says his name, snaps the judge out of it. The bailiff has to escort her out of the courtroom. She's screaming about the sex they're gonna have. The petitioner is almost in tears. God, that was beautiful. Woman waiting in the courtroom. A land whale with teeth that look like they've been put through a pocket pencil sharpener. Wearing a full-body dress that unfortunately clings to everything. Every 5 minutes or so, she lets out a muffled cry and spasms like McFly. Arms and legs twitch, body curls inward like a dead, obese spider. The bailiff eventually removes her from the courtroom because we can't have bitches crumping while court is in session. She waits outside, without incident or outburst. She's alerted when her line is called, plops down into her seat. Immediate shriek and crump action. The judge is not amused. Okay, maybe he's slightly amused. She can really move for a big girl. The responding party is only represented by a lithe attorney broad. The clerk swears the land whale in. The judge asks for her testimony. She attempts to speak. Another full-body spasm occurs, this time accompanied by a full scream. The judge asks her what's going on. She looks at the opposing attorney in fear.
He has a voodoo curse on me.
She claims that the dude didn't show up because he's too busy
wherever he be doing his rituals.
Crazy look in her eye, grabs her side and screams, twisting her head in fear to face the judge. I need protection. She eventually settles down so they can hear the fucking case. She doesn't have a case, and the other attorney is just digging into her for it. Finally closes with the question, just to be a dick I guess, if it is voodoo, why would a restraining order help? The land whale's dance recital is over, and now she's just brewing a pot of pure fucking rage after that comment. The judge looks at the land whale for a response. She ignores the comment and just does the basic,
I need protection
shit. The restraining order is, of course, denied. This cow barnstorms out of the courtroom after hearing the results. The lawyer leaves like 10 minutes later. The rest is just off of what I heard because I wasn't there to see it, unfortunately. Apparently the lawyer went to go into her car in the parking garage. She approaches her car and sees nothing wrong. Suddenly hears the squawk of bloated anger. Begins to look around her, panicked. Takes out her phone to call someone and tries to get into the front seat of her car. A ham bone arm shoots out from underneath the car.
Come here, you motherfucking sliz!
That's not even a joke. The lawyer clearly stated she was called a sliz. I don't even know. The land whale is somehow wedged underneath the lawyer's car, holding the lawyer's ankle, rolling around like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, trying to turn over onto her side. Her mouth is close to the lawyer's ankle. The lawyer fears that she's going to be bit by the aforementioned bullet teeth. High heels are on. With her free leg, she stomps the living shit out of her attacker's putty-like bicep. The land whale relinquishes her hold. The lawyer is still kicking because she's freaked out and in hysterics. It's the courthouse, so police are there within the minute and break it up. The lard ass is under the car moaning like she's in labor. Her arm is seriously fucked up. It takes like 5 people to get her out from underneath the car. Nobody has any idea how she got under there so fast in the first place, being that fucking huge. The ambulance comes and picks her up. She is later arrested. Hear from one of the attorneys that she tried to blame the entire incident on voodoo and on the dude not wanting to pay his attorney, basically making the land whale a voodoo hitman to clear his debts. What the fuck? This next guy was a huge beatard. I could smell it. An ex-girlfriend was getting a restraining order against him for harassing her after the breakup. The dude was outside her house, blowing up her phone, etc. The restraining order has been in place for about 3 months when the guy decides that he has had enough. Comes in and files a request to end the restraining order, despite the restraining order being against him. Really makes no legal sense. In his declaration, what the judge sees for evidence, he includes the following: a 23-page report as to why she needs him in her life, 2 MP3 recordings of him singing love songs about her after the breakup, 1 video described as a love video, not a sex tape, but apparently just 30 minutes of videos he took of them while dating, bowling, at the park, barbecues, etc., and some slideshows set to his personally recorded MP3s from earlier. The aforementioned MP3s are only like 3 minutes long each, so they just alternatively loop 5 times each. Here's the best part of his declaration: 12 8.5 by 11-inch photoshopped movie posters with his and her faces on them, all done absurdly well. It doesn't make any sense either, because the movies aren't even fucking romance movies. Lord of the Rings, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and what I'm pretty sure was originally a Firefly DVD cover, just to name a few. All of them with his face and his ex's face doctored in. This was the evidence he was submitting to the judge. His court date finally comes around. This gonna be good, .jpg. The guy shows up and takes his seat. Doesn't get called during the first half of court. During the recess, the bailiff announces to the court employees that someone there is going to be arrested. All of the court employees are excited as shit. Turns out, it's our man. He's got a warrant out for his arrest for violating his restraining order by apparently repeatedly leaving posters on his ex's car. The court comes back to session. The guy's number is called. He shuffles up there, classic neckbeard, wearing unnecessarily pinstriped collared shirt. The judge announces to him that there's a warrant for his arrest. The cops who were at the ready charge and wrench his arms behind his back, arresting him right there. The dude doesn't even blink, gives 0 fucks about the arrest.
But what about my hearing? When will I have my hearing? She needs me.
My face when this guy, while being arrested for violating his shit, thought he still had a chance at getting it nullified because he's a pro at CS6. This was the first semi-ridiculous case I ever encountered in court, so it holds a special place in my heart. Saw this man over the span of a handful of court hearings, a small Chinese dude with thick glasses and a victim face. Originally is in court because he divorced his wife. At the time, he said it was because of irreconcilable differences. When he had served his wife with the divorce papers, she had shoved him onto the ground and yelled at him in Mandarin. He works up enough tears in court to convince them that he fears his wife, and gets a 2-year restraining order. Kind of a stupid case, but whatever. We think that's the last we've ever seen of him. He shows up in court about a month later for a completely separate domestic violence restraining order. It's against his wife, or his new wife, or I guess soon to be his second ex-wife. In the time since the previous court hearing, he had visited a karaoke bar to forget about his ex-wife. He had fallen for one of the girls that worked there. Note that when I say karaoke bar, I'm talking about a front for a Chinese brothel. There are private karaoke rooms, and all of the employees are Chinese import sex laborers. I've often thought about checking this place out actually just for lulz, of course, but I don't have the need. Anyways, he goes to a karaoke room, pays for his sex, continues to drink with the woman, paying for her drinks, and then they go and get married that night as he continues to pay for everything. He wakes up the next morning expecting his new wife to be there. She's fucking ghosted the premises. He can't find her. She's not at work, and the number he has for her isn't working. doesn't see her for days and is mainly just confused. That week, he gets served with annulment paperwork marking the marriage as void. He reads the paperwork. Turns out she's already married to some guy in China, so the marriage was never even really a real marriage. Big surprise, she was a paid whore. The guy freaks out and begins hanging out in the parking lot where she works, hoping to see her. She sees him and gets security to tell him he needs to go away. 2 weeks later, he shows up with some friends at the bar, quote, just trying to forget about the whole thing with the whore. Because of course you forget about the whole thing by showing up at her place of work while she is working. He ends up drunk and talking shit about her to her coworkers while dropping money on them and gets them to listen and laugh. Little known thing, Chinese women have fucking crazy tempers. While he's in the parking lot getting some air, she, according to his declaration, sneaks up and sucker punches him, which he describes as a real cheap shot. He reportedly is instantly knocked out because she's fucking Floyd Mayweather and he has zero jaw. Has to be brought home by his friends, which brings us to his reappearance in court, getting a domestic violence restraining order against the new whore wife. On his court date, he shows up, looking his usual victim self. The whore shows up as well. She's actually a solid 8 out of 10. She doesn't speak any English, though. Their case gets called. She beckons for her translator. The guy's fucking face implodes because the whore's translator is his first ex-wife. The first ex-wife just death staring at the guy from 5 feet away, a small smile on her face. He's almost pissing himself, looking around in panic. This makes absolutely no sense because he has a restraining order against his first ex-wife and she's not even a translator. These bitches were just colluding. He cries out this injustice and the court forces her to leave. They're screaming at each other in Mandarin as she leaves, though. It comes out that the guy was going to this karaoke bar before the original divorce, which led to the original breakup in the first place. The hearing starts and the second ex-wife admits to sucker punching him and doesn't seem to give a fuck. She's going back to China anyways. The guy gets a 6-month restraining order against her. She leaves. His original ex-wife also leaves, and the guy walks out of there with 2 restraining orders feeling like a Mac Daddy. The court is glad that this saga is over. The wild, small Chinese man reappears in court 2 weeks later, trying to modify his restraining orders. Here's the fucking kicker. He wants to get spousal support from both of his ex-wives. Let me summarize this for you. The dude cheats on his wife with a prostitute, divorces and restrains his wife after she reacts, marries the prostitute, annuls and restrains the prostitute after she reacts, and then demands money from both of them to fund what I can only assume is more prostitute play. His fucking face when. Here's a short but sweet one. A husband is filing a restraining order for him and his children against his now ex-wife. Throughout their marriage, she was a heavy drinker. He'd come home and she'd be drunk on wine in the middle of the day while their young kids are sitting around sniffing glue. She would constantly piss the bed too because of it. He woke up many a night drenched in urine. Some traumatic shit. He eventually can't take it anymore and confronts her about it. Ultimatum and everything. She denies that she has an issue with drinking and basically tells him that he's being crazy. He's now determined to find proof. The thing is, he can't seem to catch her doing it. He eventually realizes by sniffing around that whenever he would enter and she would be drinking, she would just dump her cup into her like 7-year-old daughter's cups. The woman gets pissed. The guy is now super suspicious and is always smelling their cups. The woman gets drunk one night and decides she's going to teach him a lesson. Takes one of her daughter's lidded cups, drops trow, and proceeds to fill the cup with piss and crotch rot, puts the lid on and leaves it on the counter for her husband to find and unknowingly stick his nose in. Goes to bed and passes out. The guy ends up going into work early and not seeing the cup. The woman ends up not getting up to help her little girl get ready for school. The girl grabs her lunch alone and walks to the bus stop alone. At least Mom was nice enough to leave a drink out for her, though. Yes, it happened. The girl gets to lunch at school and takes out her lidded cup, takes the lid off, and begins to cry. All the kids at the school begin to cry. The whole cafeteria smells like piss. The girl gets sent home. Child Services report is filed. The judge's face, hearing all of this. Alright, this is my last one though because I'm tired as fuck. I don't know why I start these threads so late. This one is probably my all-time favorite case. A guy is getting a restraining order against his ex-girlfriend. Under the name area, on an official court document, he writes her name Kelly XXXX, and then, in quotes underneath it, writes Keg Leg Kelly, on an official court document. So begins the legend of Keg Leg Kelly. The guy explains the nickname in his declaration. Apparently she was really drunk at a party one night and started throwing an I'm drunk as shit tantrum. Friends holding her by her waist as she spins around, yelling for her boyfriend. Her boyfriend comes over and she starts calling him an asshole for absolutely no reason according to him. Tries to scratch and slap at him in her drunken rage, but he's weaving and light on his feet. The party has a keg near where she's making a scene. While trying to shove her boyfriend and being unconscious, she teeters and loses her balance, falls down and tries to catch herself on the keg, pushes up against it, hanging there for a few seconds before gravity forces this bitch to the ground. The keg must not have been full or something, because apparently her prolonged push was enough to get this shit to start teetering and tipping. As soon as she hits the ground, the keg starts to come down too, topples off the table and lands straight on her leg. Crunch. She doesn't go to the hospital or anything. These poor-ass people didn't have any medical insurance. She tries to just set it at home and stay off it. The shit ends up healing, but not in the sense of a functional leg. Her leg is kind of gnarled now, and she has a limp because of it, hence her nickname, Keg Leg Kelly. The ex-boyfriend really felt the need to relay all of this to the court. Anyways, about a year after normal Kelly evolved into good old Keg Leg Kelly, shit starts to get terrible with her and her boyfriend. Keg Leg has developed severe mental issues over her accident and blames her boyfriend, is unemployed because of her useless club limb, and she doesn't qualify for disability. She has no money, so her boyfriend is working crazy overtime hours to compensate. Shit blows up one night when her boyfriend stumbles upon quite a bit of hidden cash in their bedroom, stuffed in her sock drawer. I mean, come on, Keg Leg. She's sleeping at the time, so there's no immediate confrontation. He's suspicious as fuck and checks her phone. Finds text messages and pictures from other guys. Guys saying shit like, "Bitch, come suck on these nuts." Finds out that she's been whoring herself out for cash. Keg Leg had been turning some nasty tricks for spending money. The dude freaks out, wakes her up, and confronts her. She's fucking insane, so she flips out and begins screaming at him for getting into her business. She limply chases him out of the room. The argument stumbles into the kitchen. Keg Leg starts throwing things at her boyfriend. At first, it's just shit that's on the counter, like fruit and salt shakers. The thing is, and I assume it's because of her disabled leg, she has apparently developed Hulk-like upper body strength. When she runs out of counter shit to throw at her now terrified boyfriend, she gets into the larger shit, takes out full-size, heavy dinner plates and begins fucking whipping them at supersonic speeds like they're frisbees. I mean, this bitch should have done discus. The dude is now in fucking tears, dodging giant plates as Keg Leg screams pure fury at him. I imagine it was a lot like the bowling alley scene from There Will Be Blood, if you know the reference. The boyfriend eventually takes a second while she's crab walking around looking for some more artillery, looks at her out-of-order leg, and gets a genius idea. He turns and runs out the front door. He knows that she can't chase after him. As he passes into the front yard, he hears a giant crash. He turns around. Giant heavy-ass oak chair from their living room comes flying through his front window and lands 10 feet into their front yard. Glass shattered everywhere. Keg Leg is foaming at the mouth, staring out the frame of the broken window, biceps bulging from breaking the physical limitations of what a 110-pound Mexican woman should be able to do.
Get the fuck back in here!
The boyfriend turns and sprints into the darkness like he's being chased by a fucking demon. Snap back to their day in court. Keg Leg's there, limping around on her club limb. The boyfriend looks terrified. He requests that the bailiffs stand closer in case she needs to be restrained. "You don't talk that way about Keg Leg."
Hey, shut the fuck up.
Her hand shoots to the chair. The guy begins to have Vietnam flashbacks. She starts to lift. Multiple court officers hit the situation. It takes 3 dudes all over 6 foot to restrain this skinny Latina. She gets taken out of court and the guy gets a 5-year restraining order against her. I'm still waiting to see them again because if I know Kegleg, and I like to think that I know Kegleg, there's no way a piece of paper is going to stop her. Hell, she'll Donkey Kong throw shit from 100 yards away. One day, B. One day.